That dude looks like a lady. Hello there, and welcome to the Mr. Ugly Show. I am your host, Mr. Ugly.
It's the Mr. Ugly Show, starring Mr. Ugly and the Human. Yes, got it.
I and my trusty helper, the Human, will be showing off different cool stuff the Human has collected, and we'll be telling you if it was worth collecting in the first place. If it's something relatively new, we'll be telling you where you can get one of your own. Hi, folks! It's March, also known as Women's History Month. The Human has two wonderful daughters, and as such, we wanted to explore female representation in toys and collectibles using the stuff the Human has collected. We're specifically looking at his collection and all the brands and characters represented there, not the entirety of all toys across time. Honestly, it's still a lot of stuff, and it's usually considered boys' toys. I'm making air quotes here, but I have no hands, so... right. Anyway, here's our first entry in our March miniseries, Female Transformers, or Fembots if you prefer. Again, doing the air quotes with all of my no hands.
Here are all the figures from my Transformers collection that are female. You may notice that not a few of them are of the same character, and even more share body types and designs differentiated only by color and slight variations in molding. There are a lot of figures here, and we don't expect any of you good people to sit through an hour of lecture. So first, not going to lecture you. Secondly, we're going to break this episode into two parts so we can give each of these characters and their toys equal time. But first, a little background on how a toy line aimed at boys in the 80s got any female characters at all.
In the before times, also known as the 1980s, boy toys and girl toys were sharply separated. Sure, Barbie had Ken, but he was not meant as a boy's toy in a girl's toy line. Female characters appeared in boys' toys too, from Scarlet and Baroness and G.I. Joe to Teela and Evil Lynn and He-Man. But none of these were meant as entry points for girls into a boy's toy line. They needed female characters in the cartoons and comics to flesh out the stories and make them more interesting. Plus, with human or humanoid characters, it's only natural to have women and men represented equally. Well, somewhat equally. But what about a toy line, comic and cartoon, where the characters are all sentient robots?
Transformers, as you probably know by now, were originally brought over from Japan as toys from several different manufacturers and toy lines. With help from Marvel Comics, Hasbro created a single toy line for the US market, with character backgrounds and storylines for an animated series and comic books. Hasbro saw this as a boys' toy line. After all, none of the toys had robot modes that remotely resembled anything recognizable as female, so why not make them all male? As the script for the 1986 Transformers animated movie was being written, writer Ron Friedman created and fought for the inclusion of a female character. Citing the fact that his daughter loved these toys, he created RC.
Before the movie came out, however, episode 53 of the Transformers cartoon aired on November 12, 1985, The Search for Alpha Trion. This episode introduced viewers to a group of female Autobots fighting on Cybertron as a sort of secret underground resistance. We learned that it was commonly held the last female Transformers had perished during the Aeons Long War.
This episode introduced us to Elita 1, Moonracer, Chromia, Lancer, Greenlight, and Firestar, later renamed Novastar. More female characters were introduced in later series. However, no female Transformers toys would be released at retail in the US until 1997, when Beast Wars toys for the characters Black Arachnia and Air Razor came out. Female characters in Transformers media showed up fairly regularly after Beast Wars.
The existence of female robotic life forms doesn't really make any sense. Why would a sentient robot, who evolved separate from any organic life, have gender characteristics at all? An entire alien race with no practical use for gender wouldn't evolve genders, would they? Whereas the cartoons would never really attempt to explain or answer these questions, the various comic books took stabs at the issue. Some were fairly cringeworthy, like when the UK comics revealed that RC was created by the Autobots to appease Earth feminists. Ugh. Or how about that time RC was revealed to be a victim of forced gender reassignment in the IDW comics? Ugh. Both are pretty awful.
A more palatable explanation came when Hasbro fleshed out the idea of the Primes, Cybertronian elder gods who were the progenitors of the Transformers race. One of the original Primes, Solus Prime, processed data differently than the others. This gave her the unique ability to create things using her forge. See, I used her just then because Solus and her descendants became classified as female once the Transformers encountered other gendered races. Seeing that there were marked differences between male and female among organic life forms, Transformers decided to mark their own perceived differences by using gender pronouns too. This wasn't meant to make Solus's kind feel less than or single them out, but rather was used as a shorthand for identifying an observed difference within their own species and the way they process data. Of course, this does nothing to explain why female Transformers often have what we would recognize as human female primary sex characteristics.
You mean the curvy hips and the boobs, don't you?
Well, the slimmer bodies and the curvy hips would be secondary characteristics, but yeah, you get what I mean. Given that the male Transformers generally have big, boxy, blocky bodies, why do female Transformers look like girls? There's really no good explanation for that other than human men generally designed these characters. I mean, when you think about it, why do humanoid alien races have females with breasts at all? They're a mammalian feature, so why does every sci-fi thing ever depict female humanoid aliens with boobs? I mean, what are the chances that we'd meet aliens in this vast universe in the first place? And then the chances on top of that they be humanoid? And then are we saying that mammals exist in every evolutionary chain on every habitable exoplanet across the galaxy? I mean, even clearly reptilian humanoids are depicted with breasts. What in the actual
Dad, seriously? Stay on target, you two.
Right. Did we mention the human's teenage daughter would be here to keep us honest and keep us from being too, male about all of this?
Yeah, okay. Back on topic. Female Transformers, where were we? Oh, right. I think that's enough background. Let's look at some of these toys. Why don't we start with Hasbro's Power of the Primes, Orthia.
Orthia here is a combiner, created in a special edition Generation Selects comic book. She's made up of 5 female Autobot warriors who were designated by Solus Prime herself as the Shield of Solus. Given Solus's gifts of creation, Orthia is a badass giant combiner who can not only kick Decepticon ass, but also forge cool new advanced weaponry to use during aforementioned ass-kicking.
Utilizing those female Autobot characters from episode 53 of the original cartoon, Orthia is made up of Alita 1 as the head and torso, and Moonracer, Novastar, formerly Firestar, and Greenlight and Lancer as the limbs. The toys were released across several different toy lines over the course of 2 years, making it a little difficult to collect all of her. Alita 1 is a retool of the Starscream figure from the Power of the Primes line. Each of the limbs are slight retools and recolors of the same basic engineering and molding as Moonracer, as she was the first of the limbs released. Alita 1 comes with the feet of her combined mode as accessories. Each of the limbs come with a piece of armor that can become a hand or an extended heel for the combined mode feet.
Alita 1 here turned into a Cybertronian car, like the majority of Autobots in the original cartoon. However, since Hasbro retooled a Starscream toy to make her, she's a big old jet now. In the G1 cartoon, she used to be Optimus's significant other back when he was just Orion Pax, and she was Ariel. She gets rebuilt by Alpha Trion after being heavily wounded during the war on Cybertron. He renames her Alita 1, and she becomes a highly respected resistance leader and capable warrior. She leads the remaining female Autobots in an effort to maintain a foothold on Cybertron, and maybe one day win it back from the Decepticons. Leader One also got a toy in the live-action movie toy line for the Revenge of the Fallen sequel. Hasbro took one of the 3 RC cycles from the film and named her Leader One for the toy release, and in the comics too. She's also appeared in recent comic stories, and most recently in the War for Cybertron trilogy on Netflix, where she is, once again, a car. Orthia's left leg is green light. There wasn't much info on her in G1 media. She was some sort of scientist before the war, became a part of a Leader One's unit after they failed to board the Ark to escape Cybertron with the rest of the Autobots. But in the IDW Comics continuity, she's a talented xenobiologist and in a committed relationship with none other than RC. Lancer is the right leg of Orthia. Again, not much info on her in G1 media, aside from what she did in the one episode of the original cartoon that she appeared in. IDW Comics made her an Energon engineer. She featured prominently in a story there involving a moon spiraling out of orbit and towards a Cybertronian sun. Here comes Nova Star, or Firestar as she was originally named in the G1 cartoon. Hasbro lost the rights to the name, so she became Nova Star by the time we got this toy release. She's Orthia's left arm, and she specializes in rescue missions as part of a Leader One squad. In the IDW Comics, Firestar hails from the colony world Caminus, and is an accomplished and talented dancer and actress. She's a bit of an egotistical jerk who found it difficult to find and keep friends. Last but not least is Orthia's right arm, Moonracer. She was actually the first of the Limbots to be released, and her mold was retooled and recolored for each of the others. She's either the best sharpshooter in the galaxy or the universe, depending on who you ask. In the IDW Comics, she was a native of the Cybertronian colony world, Velocitron, a planet obsessed with speed. She meets a grim end in the War for Cybertron trilogy cartoon when she gets ripped apart by a horde of Sparkless. They're basically Transformers zombies. And she dies in Optimus's arms. Ugh, sad.
That was Orthia and a bunch of heretofore relatively unknown G1 female Autobots. We wanted to do RC next, but we're running kind of long already. 1, 2, 3, about 5 RCs. Okay, let's cover Strongarm now, and we'll save the rest for part 2.
Well, all right then. Strongarm it is. The name Strongarm was first used for a male Autobot from the Energon cartoon. In 2015, we got the Robots in Disguise cartoon. This story's Strongarm is a female police cadet eager to prove she's worthy of full officer rank. She's intelligent, strong, and steadfast in her knowledge and application of the law. This animated series was a direct sequel to Transformers Prime and followed the adventures of Bumblebee's team of Autobots traveling to Earth to capture escaped Decepticon criminals. Strongarm was a valuable member of Bee's team. One significant thing to note about her is that she is one of the first female Transformers whose robot design doesn't follow the make it look like a woman's body aesthetic. Although they did give her robot face feminine eyelashes. You know, because robotic life forms would absolutely need eyelashes. We're going to wrap up part 1 of Female Transformers here. In part 2, we'll take a look at the remaining fembots the human has, including the most famous villain and fan-voted favorite. So, the human's daughter over there, how we doing so far?
I feel like you two got it pretty well. I can't wait to see part 2.
Okie dokie then. Thank you folks for watching. Hug your daughters, thank your moms, and kiss your wives and girlfriends. Without them, there'd be no civilization. Click that like button if you like us. Click that subscribe button to get notified when we post new videos. And we'll see you next time for part 2 of this look at female Transformers. What?
No stupid joke to play us out this time?
Yeah, I think that was just it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.